They say that if you ever feel the presence of something supernatural, a ghost or a spirit, your best refuge is in places of worship like a temple, mosque, or church. These are believed to be spaces where divine protection is the strongest, capable of warding off evil spirits. But what if the place you seek safety in turns out to be haunted itself? What if the very sanctuary you turn to harbors something far darker than what you fled from? In today's story, I'm taking you to England, to one of the most haunted places in the country, a church known as Borley Church. This isn't your ordinary haunted location. The paranormal presence here has been documented for centuries, going all the way back to the 14th century. Imagine, for hundreds of years, this sacred ground has been plagued by a terrifying entity. It's the stuff of nightmares, and yet it's all too real. For decades, the paranormal activity at Borley Church attracted attention far and wide. Newspapers reported eerie sightings and ghostly figures, igniting fear and fascination among the locals and beyond. Of course, these types of reports naturally beckon paranormal investigators, the ones who specialize in the unknown, the ones who have made it their life's mission to confront what most of us would never dare. And among these investigators, two names stand out: Ed and Lorraine Warren. You may recognize their names from movies like The Conjuring or Annabelle, where they were portrayed as fearless investigators of the paranormal. But Borley Church, with its dark history and sinister presence, tested even their legendary resolve. What they encountered within those walls left them shaken in a way they had rarely experienced in their entire careers. And that's saying something. The story begins in 1979, a year when Ed and Lorraine Warren found themselves drawn to Borley Church after hearing whispers of its terrifying history. Borley Church, along with its rectory, had a long-standing reputation for being a place no one dared to visit after dark. The ghost of a nun, trapped within the confines of the church, had been tormenting anyone who dared enter for centuries. From the moment Ed and Lorraine stepped foot on the church's sacred grounds, they could feel something was horribly wrong. As they crossed the threshold, an icy chill swept through the air, far too cold for the warm summer evening outside. Lorraine's psychic abilities allowed her to connect with spirits, and almost immediately, she felt the presence of a dark, shadowy figure. It wasn't a fleeting feeling either. The apparition lingered just out of view, pulling her toward it, deeper into the church. She could see it, a woman draped in a nun's habit, her face shrouded in darkness. The figure moved silently, gliding toward the church altar before vanishing into thin air. The weight of the atmosphere grew unbearable. This wasn't just an ordinary ghost. This was something far more malevolent. Lorraine turned to Ed, and though neither said a word, they both understood that the entity here had no intention of leaving. Whatever haunted Borley Church had been there for centuries, and it was powerful. The locals had their theories. Some said it was the spirit of a nun who had been entombed within the church walls. Her crime: falling in love with a monk. The love between them had been forbidden, and when their affair was discovered, the punishment was swift and brutal. The monk was executed, but the nun's fate was far worse. She was sealed alive within the very walls of the church, condemned to an eternity of suffering and torment. Since then, the church had been cursed. Those who played a part in their deaths met tragic, often violent ends. Years passed, but the spirits never left. Despite numerous attempts by various paranormal investigators, including the famous Harry Price, to cleanse the church and its surrounding rectory, the hauntings persisted. Fires ravaged the rectory, burning it to the ground, but still, the nun's spirit wandered the grounds. And she wasn't alone. Reports of a monk's ghost, perhaps the very same man the nun had loved, circulated for years. Together, their restless spirits haunted the church day and night, showing no fear of the holy ground they desecrated with their presence. By the time Ed and Lorraine arrived in 1979, Borley Church had become infamous throughout the UK. The stories of disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and objects moving on their own were well known. But no one, not even the bravest paranormal investigators, had been able to rid the church of its dark history. The local residents avoided the church at night like the plague. Even during the day, visitors stayed only as long as necessary, hastily reciting their prayers before making a quick exit, as though they could sense the eyes of something watching from the shadows. The Warrens' investigation took a terrifying turn when Lorraine experienced a profound connection to the spirits. As they explored the darkened corners of the church, Lorraine found herself pulled into the church's sinister past. She saw visions of the nun, her face contorted in anguish, replaying the moments before her death. The air around her grew heavy, suffocating, and Lorraine felt as though she too was being trapped within the walls. Ed, ever the skeptic despite his years of experience, could not deny that something truly evil was lingering in Borley Church. His usual calm demeanor was shaken. Whatever haunted this place wasn't just a lost soul in need of guidance. It was something far darker. The investigation concluded with no resolution. For the first time in their careers, Ed and Lorraine Warren were forced to walk away, knowing they had encountered a force that even they could not fully comprehend or banish. The spirits of the nun and the monk remain in Borley Church to this day, a testament to the tragic love and violent death that bound them there for eternity. The hauntings at Borley Church are among the most famous paranormal cases ever recorded, a chilling reminder that sometimes the places we believe are safest may be the ones we should fear the most. And with that, we conclude today's story. But if you're a fan of mysterious and chilling tales like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. There are more stories, some even darker, waiting for you. Stay tuned for more of the unexplained, and until then, keep your lights on. You never know what's lurking in the shadows.